Welcome, level uppers. This is the second episode of the Netflix Club.
Netflix Club! Netflix Club! Watching a bunch of shit and then talking about it for you.
I didn't know there was going to be a pause. I didn't know if we had to say
I was hoping something would happen, and Greg filled that void. Thank you, Greg.
Count, Greg.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. If there's
but anyway,
bring to the show, it's me.
Of course. I'm one of your co-hosts, Andrew. I make the show Midori, and I have alongside me the beast from the east, Dean Marchese.
Hello. Good evening. Or
as well as what are we calling you again?
What the fuck does that mean?
The diet racist gay boy.
I forgot about that.
Gregory Verga.
What is it? The non-racist gay boy?
Diet. No.
Diet
you're a little-
racist.
The diet racist.
Yes, you diet.
Because I'm mildly racist. What's
Of
the
course,
thing based on?
just a
What's
joke.
the dragon?
Huh?
The dragon video. Isn't that what we based this off of?
Oh,
No.
yes, we were talking about Albie the racist dragon by Flay the Concords.
right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm
That
not,
is
there's a whole
true.
video that went with this. But yeah.
Mhm.
Hi,
We're
guys.
so off track already.
It's me. I'm not racist, but maybe.
But anyway, so you guys, our patrons, have brought us to this milestone, and we are now doing the Netflix Club every month, talking about our favorite Netflix shows, or what could become our favorite Netflix shows. This month, we will be discussing Iron Fist, Season 1, Episode 1.
It's behind me, but you can't see it. But I tried.
You did. Right.
We're very excited to discuss this one because it really is the first Marvel property that didn't have glowing praise behind it. That doesn't mean that we're all going to dislike it, but going into this, I think our expectations were tempered for sure, right?
Mine were, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's 1,000%.
Which might have helped us out a little bit. I'm not going to start with this one. You guys are
Okay.
power up. I feel like you guys should start here. Dean, go ahead. Why don't you give
Where are
your...
we all at as far as the show?
I'm done. I've watched it all in one day.
Holy shit, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I watched it
Holy
yesterday.
shit. What about you, Greg? How far are you?
I'm on episode 6. I just finished episode 5, so I'm like starting episode 6.
That's crazy to me that you are done, Dean.
Yeah, I really got
Where are
in
you
there.
at?
I'm at episode 1.
Oh, okay.
Which we do. That was the plan. One episode.
This happens, dude. They release these every time there's a Marvel Netflix show. You guys know my schedule's a little nuts, especially right now.
Yeah.
But without fail, every time one of these Marvel Netflix shows, it's like whatever kind of ultimate power is out there. It's like it'll be on a weekend that Dean is free, and it keeps happening. And I was like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna watch this whole thing, and I did.
Good for you. Jen didn't jump down your throat.
No, she was busy because she had she was the maid of honor in her friend's wedding, so she was like plenty busy. And they had the bridal shower was this weekend, so she couldn't have cared less.
Lucky
Yeah, it
you.
was great. Yeah, I just watched a whole bunch of Iron Fist.
Well, we're gonna
Slowly
try and
shooting
stick
up the hem.
to the first episode, but then we can talk a little bit about the rest of the show as well,
Sure.
without getting into spoilers, of course.
For sure.
But Dean, I want to start with you. What are your short-term feelings here on that first episode of Iron Fist?
I liked it, dude. I think it is. Well, you want me to just give you what I thought of just the first episode?
Yes, off the first episode. How were you feeling?
I liked
after
it.
that?
I thought it was. It was definitely slower. It's the slowest of the Netflix shows for sure. In the first episode, they kind of set the scene, but I got enough out of it where, like, I know Iron Fist. I know vaguely his background. I read a lot of comics, and I've always been a Marvel guy, so I'm familiar with him. And the way they laid it out, it was very true to character. Finn Jones, I thought, did a great job. My initial thoughts through the whole first episode was, why and what is wrong with everybody? It was just it really was like manufactured outrage. People had an axe to grind from the second this guy was cast, which we talked about on Power Up because he wasn't Asian. Danny Rand is not Asian. He's a white guy, always was. And so I think the critics went in there like ready to fucking give this guy like, the business, but he was great.
I think that might have happened in a few spots, but what about like an IGN or a comicbookmovie.com where they also disliked it?
It's not. I'm not at all gonna like tell you it's like the best show. I'm not. I'm not trying to like soften the blow by any means. Even though I love Marvel, like it's all right. The first episode was all right. The show overall, it gets stronger towards the end, and I thought it was good. Not great, just good. But yeah, the first episode, I really like the way Finn Jones portrayed Danny Rand. He's got this sense of innocence and like naivety, and also this like greatly displaced sense of confidence because as you'll find out, and they briefly mentioned in the first episode, he kind of just became the Iron Fist and then bailed. So like
Right.
the way Finn Jones leads you into that in the first episode, I thought was like really good. My first impressions was like he's definitely like who I imagine Danny Rand to be whenever I've read the comics or anything like that. So super slow episode. Episode overall was okay, and I thought the introduction to who he is and the whole lore behind him and his kung fu background, and he's a very spiritual person. I thought all that was really intriguing.
Okay, what about you, Greg? Any difference in opinion between you and Dean on this one?
It's hard, because now, like I said, I'm 5 episodes in, and like, it very much, as of right now, where I'm falling on the show without having finished the first season in its entirety, like, it's very much on the same level as Luke Cage for me, and I don't know if I voiced that on any other outlet besides Power Up, but if you're watching this and you don't know, Luke Cage was just okay for me. Like, that show didn't do anything for me. A lot of people revered it as, like, the best Marvel's done yet, and, like, I'm very biased, though, too. Like, I think even after Daredevil Season 2, I love Daredevil Season 2. I think it's a near-perfect season of television in general, especially in the superhero genre. But, like, Jessica Jones, to me, is still my favorite. You're always going to be biased to what you like more. Like, I love seeing female superheroes. I just love that. I love that aesthetic. I love that dark, gritty tone. And I thought Kristen Ritter did an amazing performance as her. Now, coming into Iron Fist, watching all the trailers, I was probably the most excited, I think, for this show out of all 4 of Marvel shows. Like, I remember seeing the first trailer for Daredevil, I'm like, oh, this is exciting, but, like, what if it ends up like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That was all we had gotten from Marvel previous to this. Jessica Jones, I was like, I love Kristen Ritter, but I'm like, what is Jessica Jones? I didn't really know a lot about her character. So I researched her a bunch more, and that's where my love comes for her a bunch. And then Luke Cage and Iron Fist kind of fall into that boat for me where it's like, I know nothing about them at all. I know, like, their power sets and, like, their bullet points if they were to, like, walk off a bus. And I'd be like, oh, cool. Like, this is what you are known for. This is what you can do. And I know none of your side characters. I know none of your stories. So going in completely open-minded that way, Luke Cage after Season 1, I was like, okay, that happened. I see how he fits into the universe, and I see, like, he could be a part of the Defenders, but I don't think he's a main player. Whereas Iron Fist, I see him more as like a main member of the Defenders, and I feel like you kind of don't. I feel like it's very slow so far. Episode 1, especially for me, I was like, what is this? Like, what's happening as far as like introducing this character? We didn't even get any introduction of who he was until the last 2 seconds of episode 1. And then even then you get that little flashback to the plane crash or whatever, and it was just like him seeing the monks. And I'm like, what is this? Like, it got to a point where I was like, I was frustrated with the show. Like, I was like, I get there's 13 episodes and you're going to have to prolong a story over time, but, like, at the same time now, you've already set up these other 3 huge Defenders. Like, you need to treat your coolest member of the Defenders, in my opinion, like, coolest looking, coolest aesthetic, with, like, a lot more respect than I think what you're giving him. Especially as the first half of the season has continued on for me. Like, it's very, very slow pacing-wise.
Well, just to put it out there, I'm not disagreeing with you at all, but Daredevil is kind of known as, like, the Captain America of the Defenders. It's not Iron
he's
Fist.
the leader.
Yeah, Daredevil is like their Batman, pretty much.
And there's no way they weren't going to go that route on Netflix either, because Daredevil is the most recognizable as well.
The most popular show.
Almost
No,
nobody
sure.
knows
That's
who
my point.
Jessica Jones is, Luke Cage, Iron Fist.
Right.
People know who Daredevil is. There was a Ben Affleck movie, so like people know who Daredevil is.
No, my point to that was just the setting. As far as like cool looking characters go, like you could point out somebody of the Justice League. Like if you show somebody Zatanna, 10 times out of 10 or 9 times out of 10, somebody's not gonna be able to tell you who the fuck Zatanna is. But if you show them a trailer of what she can do, you're like, holy fuck, Zatanna's awesome. Like, she's such a cool member that you could explore such a cool story with. That's kind of how I was going into this. I was kind of like, introduce me to Danny Rand and Iron Fist and show me how awesome he is. And like I said, I'm only 5 episodes in, but as of right now, like I see little things, but like they're like trickling it out very much so. It feels very much like Daredevil season 1 to me, where like they're building up to this very climactic finale, and I hope they deliver on it.
Well,
for me,
go ahead, Andrew. I'm gonna elaborate on something that Greg was looking for, but give us what you thought first.
Well, I was going to comment on the Daredevil thing. First off, I love Daredevil, and I was hooked on Daredevil.
You're just talking about season 1 or season 2?
Both seasons, but season 1 especially. I was hooked after the first episode. And then season 2, I thought blew season 1 away.
Oh, it was phenomenal.
As far as what else I've watched, I liked Jessica Jones. I didn't love it. I thought the pacing was really bad in it, and I haven't watched Luke Cage. So that's where I'm at as far as the Defenders go.
Okay.
Now, Finn Jones, after all the reviews came out and it was panned and got 15% around Tomatoes, he said it was a show for the fans, which we've heard many times in defense of poorly rated comic book movies and TV shows.
Team pointed that out in the last episode of Power Up, that exact quote they said about Suicide Squad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm going into this having no knowledge whatsoever of Iron Fist, so I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Right.
So maybe I'm the person Finn Jones is talking about here. I'm glad, though, Greg, that you didn't love it, because I was worried that both you guys were going to be like, it's amazing, and then I was going to feel like a total douchebag.
I don't think it's amazing, and by any stretch. Not even
I'm
a
glad,
little bit.
because I really thought it was meh.
Yeah.
I only watched the first episode. But here's how I was looking at it is, and I'm not surprised, because Scott Buck is the showrunner behind this. He directed it, he wrote it. He's the guy who did season 6 and 8 of Dexter.
The 2 worst seasons of that series!
2 worst seasons of that series.
Season 6 of Dexter is the worst season of television I've ever watched in my life.
Yeah.
And I've watched
It's
many
bad.
television shows.
And
It's horrific.
Right off the bat, I sensed that he was behind this. From the writing to the direction, even to the acting. It had that Scott Buck feel of it to me. And I don't think Finn Jones is a bad actor. And I agree that he did get the naivety and the and a little bit of that confidence. He got that. I agree. But the entire time, I felt like in the back of his head, he's like, American accent, American accent, American accent. Because I could tell this guy was struggling to do it, and it felt like it was this barrier for him in making the show. At least to me, when I was watching the first episode, that might change because, it's the first episode. He might fall into that and get a hang of that American accent. I have no idea. But I was a little disappointed in his performance. I thought the people who played Joy and Ward, I thought they did a fine job.
They get better. There's just a brief preview of what's to come. Way too much of the Meacham family story.
Yeah.
But those actors and actresses are good. They deliver solid performances. But it's just too much.
Yeah, I could tell they're setting up this whole corporate espionage type storyline.
It's very soap opera-ish.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. And coming out of it, I was like, this is a comic book show I would see on the CW or on ABC Family.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching an ABC
criticism.
Family show. And that has a lot to do with Scott Buck's direction. And he might not be the director of the entire season, but he's not a good director.
No.
You really could sense that in this episode. I don't know why he directed it at all. I mean, write it, sure, you're the showrunner, write it, but get somebody who can direct action.
Yeah.
I mean, Daredevil built up our expectations on martial arts because it had some amazing, phenomenal one-shot action scenes. That second episode of Daredevil, man, when he's the hallway fight scene, when he's rescuing the child, that you can't beat that.
Yeah.
In that season, they didn't even beat that. And now we've got Iron Fist, which is supposed to be entirely about martial arts. And in that first episode, man, what was there? There was barely any.
The security guard scene in that first episode where he first shows up to Danny Rand Industries, it seemed like the most lazily shot. It was I watched it back because I honestly thought I was drunk or high or something. I'm like, did I just watch what I just saw? He moves with them. You can clearly see none of their hands are connecting or even trying to look like they're connecting for punches or anything. And then he does have a different way of his martial arts too, which I do want to point out is he's very much about taking in blows and deflecting them rather than being like Daredevil and just fucking up people. So I do want to point that out. But even in those motions, he's very much just you could see on his face and in his head in those scenes, it's okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and he's counting it out still in his head. It doesn't look like they shot that scene 5 or 6 times. It looks like it was on the set that day, and they were just okay, and step 4 and step 5.
Fun fact about that: the crazy, not the hallway scene in Daredevil, but the second season one, where his hand is taped to the gun and he's got the chain.
Yeah.
Oh, for the
that
staircase?
whole long scene
was
shot. They learned it the day they got on set, and then they shot it.
That's fucking
amazing.
So
That's
that
a
very well is
testament to
possible
that
that
that feeds to Daredevil, and what you were just talking about, Greg, is the action in Daredevil is frenetic, but it seems like it was choreographed because they nail it, right?
Yeah.
And that's the problem here is this first episode just completely botched the action, and then as far as a hook goes and a cliffhanger, And like
None.
to end on just like the plane going into the distance, like I was just like, that's how you end the first episode. Like when you have a show like this, and Daredevil season 2 especially nailed this, end every single episode on something that's gonna make me want to watch the next episode, because this is on Netflix. People want to binge watch this shit. I should have felt like, yeah, let's watch the next episode. I had absolutely no desire to watch the next.
You're
episode.
very right about Daredevil season 2. Out of any show I've ever watched, as far as cliffhangers go, The Leftovers and Daredevil season 2 are very high up there. Lost is up there too, but like
Lost, exactly, yeah.
Like an episode where it ends and you're immediately like, fuck, I need to know what happens. And Daredevil season 2, at the end of every one of those 13 episodes, I was immediately like, next episode. At the end of Jessica Jones, there were a couple episodes where I was like, I could like wait now. This is gonna be my pause. And like Luke Cage, every episode to me, I was just like, I have to get through this show. I gotta get through it. And now this show is almost falling into that same trope for me, where I'm kind of like, I don't give a fuck about Joy. I don't even know who she is. Like the Meacham guy, I'm like, what is happening? Like, I just don't care about them. And I'm like waiting for that episode for me to be like, cool. And like a lot of the fun, like little sparkler episodes is what I call them, or not even episodes, sparkler moments, or like when they show off his powers, like later on. And even those moments, like they happen and then they're just gone. And I'm like, what's happening?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's so hard to talk about it having watched the whole season now.
Yeah.
Because both of you guys have super fair criticisms, and really not much I disagree with. I think you're really like hitting on the point. It's not a great season. It's very okay. You know what I mean? But by the end of it, I was confident enough to say good, because the last, I'll say 3 episodes I thought were great. There's some really cool action sequences. When shit gets real, like it gets pretty cool. But there is this one particular thing that happens throughout the season, and you see it, and it is a preview of what you thought Iron Fist was going to be. And they explained why it's not yet. And so once you see it, you're like, can we get to season 2 and maybe get like a new writer, because I want to see like what this guy's going to be able to do. I don't want to spoil anything.
Here's a question for you guys. I have a question. Because I don't watch Arrow, but from what I know of Arrow, it seems a lot like Arrow.
A lot of people said that, and in concept, just because, like, I mean, yeah, Arrow goes away with his dad on like a boating trip, and then the boat sinks, and Arrow winds up on an island, and he trains and comes back to the city. So, okay. I mean, you could say that about Iron Man. You know, you could say that about a lot of them. That concept alone, like the fact that he was on a trip with his parents, the plane crashes, and then he goes away, that's the same. Other than that, I didn't get any kind of, and I was really worried about that because a lot of people were criticizing it for that. I didn't really get any Arrow vibes from it. I for sure thought it was better than Arrow, but that's not really saying that much because Arrow has gotten really bad. But I don't know.
Would you agree, though, that it feels, like in vibe, it feels comparable to like a CW show as opposed to a Netflix show?
I would agree. At times, like I said, the last 2 or 3 episodes, I think they really hit the like critical points of where the story gets like really cool, and you start learning like, okay, like quite frankly, it's not really a spoiler, but he left so fast he didn't finish his training. So he's not like the Iron Fist. He's the Iron Fist, but he doesn't know everything there is to know. And so that element at itself kind of holds the whole season back, I felt like. I don't know what could have fixed that, like if they had to tell the story that way, or if it was just a different, they could have had a different writing. I don't know, because there's a lot of other weak points, as you guys said as well.
I have 2 questions for you guys, too, if you don't mind. One, you touched on the exact question I was just about to ask you both, is do you think... See, like, for me, it felt very CW-ish, but, like, I still had the tone, maybe because I'm now further in than the first episode, but, like, the tone, even with Luke Cage, like, I don't think that show is great. I don't think it's phenomenal like everybody reveres it to be. I think that's a solid show. I think 13 episodes, they conclude that story, and I think it makes sense, and then they leave you with a little bit more for him. But I still felt like Luke Cage was, like, a Marvel Netflix show. Like, with me, like, Iron Fist so far, hopefully that changes, like you said in the last 3 episodes, but, like, there's just something for me. Maybe it's not as bad as CW, but like it doesn't feel Marvel Netflix like at all to me. And the tone of it, like nothing, it just seems very disjointed, whatever. So my question is, if they did his character like they did Luke Cage or Jessica Jones, like it just doesn't make sense to me why his story is an origin story, and everybody else's is a tale. You know what I mean? Like Jessica, when we meet her, she's already had her powers. She was famous at one point, and now she's an alcoholic, and she's a private investigator because she fucked up her life. Luke Cage, you've seen him in Jessica Jones. You know he has his powers. You find out that he was an experiment in his season, but like his story is about taking back his town, which is Harlem, and like owning that up. Like, but they already have their powers. Very much so in this first 5 episodes I've watched, and Iron Fist, even in the pilot, you're very much getting an origin story. Like this guy, you're seeing his very beginning. Do you think that's why the disconnect is there? Even with Matt Murdock, like he was still there, even for the first couple episodes.
That wasn't what gave it the CW ABC Family vibe for me. It was probably what Dean brought up. It does feel soap opera-ish in a way, and it reminded me of Revenge.
Yeah, that's the show I tell everybody it reminds me of.
It reminded me of Revenge, which Kristen watched, and I was not a fan of. And I think it's that the writing is very soap opera-ish in that it's not how people speak.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's not how people talk. And Scott Buck did this in Dexter as well. It worked somewhat in Dexter because Dexter would be in his head and he would, talk, like Edgar Allan Poe sometimes and poetic. I get that. It worked somewhat there. But in this one, when you're like having spoken dialogue between people, it felt very unnatural and stilted, and the actors did the best job they could with it, I felt, but it's tough, man. Some of these lines, I was like, nobody could pull that line off.
Yeah.
So I hope it gets better, but my question is, should I continue?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily going to be something for you, personally. But I don't know. It's you might not care. You might care when it comes time to the Defenders, because there is a lot of stuff that is... And to Greg's kind of quandary, I think a lot of this origin has to do with the Hand, and I think they may be a little too worried about setting up the Hand for the Defenders. Okay. So I don't know. I don't know how involved it's going to be in the Defenders or not. But yeah, Greg, you might find something that you take away from it, especially like I said, when some things get revealed later in the season, like towards the end of the season, and there are some really cool action sequences. You might find something to take away from it.
I'm definitely finishing the show. I'm a guy that still watches fucking Arrow, so like I'm finishing Iron Fist. That's
Andrew. I mean? I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't think you're gonna enjoy it. I really don't.
Did you like it more than Jessica Jones? Because I really was not the biggest fan of Jessica Jones.
I don't like it more than Jessica Jones. I liked it more than Luke Cage.
Okay.
But that's not saying much, everybody's different. There's people out there who think Jessica Jones is the best Netflix show.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different
Kristen
tastes.
Actually liked Jessica Jones a good bit. She fell asleep during this episode.
Yeah. I love Jessica Jones, but some people think it's better than Daredevil. I would think that's nuts. But it's everybody's, everyone's got their different flavors, so...
We still have a Punisher show on the way, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have a Daredevil season 3 confirmed. We have a Luke Cage season 2 confirmed, and a Punisher series confirmed.
That's exciting.
And then the Defenders, I think, is
Elektra coming back in the Defenders. We have all of our heroes coming back in the Defenders, and fucking what's her name is the main villain, Sigourney Weaver.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Still don't know who she's playing yet. Yeah. Here's I think the problem they do with these series, and for some reason it's panned out with the others, but. They get different directors for like every episode.
Yeah.
And like maybe they just had a bad luck of the draw combined with the bad writing of the guy who did Dexter. I don't know, but it seemed to work out for Daredevil and Jessica Jones and even Luke Cage. I enjoyed Luke Cage, but
I think it's okay when you have a few, but I agree that it's nice when there's a cohesive feel and when you see the director's name reappear pretty often, like every 2 or 3 episodes. Oh yeah, that guy again.
That's not the case here. That. They have this guy John Dahl directed 2 episodes, and then every other one of the episodes has a different director.
Huh. Okay.
Every one of them. And the Daredevil wasn't that far off. They had a director come in for 4 episodes, and then another that did 3, and then different director for every episode. So I'm not sure why. I
mean, that's 7 out of 13 episodes that have a more cohesive feel. So
definitely, it's just strange. Yeah, but with Iron Fist, they had one person do 2, and then 11 other directors for each episode, which is just not going to help your.
It felt like there wasn't as much heart put into this one as the others.
It did feel that way. I totally agree, which is a shame because I think Vin Jones has a passion for the character.
That's what I was going to say. Is now 5 episodes into this, it's really such a shame because I know it's not as far as all the actors, like honestly, like you can only do so much from the script that you get, even if you were improvising on some lines or some feelings. Like there were really, so far in the 5 episodes I've watched, there's some scenes where Finn Jones is like breaking down emotionally so far, and like he really opens up, and I'm like, wow. But then the words that come out of his mouth, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I'm like, that doesn't even go with what you're feeling. Like that doesn't make sense. So
there are times when he lays on like if you've ever watched, I know you guys probably haven't, but if you've ever watched the more recent Spider-Man series on Disney, they have an Iron Fist on there, and some of these lines that he gets out when he's delivering, like when he's doing his meditation and stuff, and he like throws out a Buddha quote, I'm like, yes, dude, like it's so Iron Fist it hurts. And I'm like, why? Like, what happened? Where did you guys not understand that this was the best part of him? It's because like he's a hippie, you know what I mean? And like he just nails that in some cases, and it sucks because I think Finn Jones is good, and I'm glad that he is the role, because I think the one positive thing to take away from it, I know this kind of turned into a season discussion, but the one positive I think is Marvel, like we started this off saying, hasn't really ever had like a critical bomb, and I think this being that is gonna hit their ego, and I think it's gonna make them be like, not again, and they're gonna come back, and I think
we can't be DC,
and I think they're gonna nail it. I do. I really hope not only the Defenders, but I really hope he gets a season 2 with a proper team, because honestly, this made me walk away being like, well, the show was all right, but I want to read some Iron Fist comics now. You know what I mean? Which is the best they could hope for.
Yeah. I agree with that. If anything, like I said, by the end of the show, I'm intrigued by the show. I'd like to point that out to everybody. As much shit as we're giving it, like, I'm 5 episodes in, and like, I want to see what happens to these characters. Like, Finn, especially Finn Jones. Like, I really want to see what happens to him. I want to see what happens to Joy. I know my Roro Boo Boo comes in later in the season, so, like...
She's great.
Claire is my fucking favorite character. One of my favorite characters. I don't want to say favorite. But all the females in this show, they're all portrayed. Claire is what saved Luke Cage for me. As soon as she hit...
Colleen Wing, I don't know the actress's name. She's fucking awesome.
Yeah, she's super good so far, too. Yeah, she's really cool. But I don't know, like, that's why I'm really stoked for Sigourney Weaver to be the main villain in the Defenders, because Marvel Netflix shows, they know how to get their females right. And, like, that's my biggest complaint when it comes to stuff like Arrow on the CW or The Flash. Like, Iris is so weak on that show sometimes. Laurel Lance was the bane of my existence on that show as Black Canary. Like, there are so many things that females get portrayed in the wrong light, and Marvel knows how to nail those. So as far as like seeing Colleen, see where she goes by the end of this, Finn Jones, I get to see Claire come up, so I'm definitely going to watch to the end. But like you said, if anything, I hope that as a service to the actors too, portraying these characters, that they're all very passionate about them too. Finn Jones is like ride or die with this guy now. I hope they give him another shot. I really do. And I don't think, like you said, Marvel's one to just be like, all right, we're giving season 2 to everything except for Iron Fist, the one that you guys said.
I mean, he'll definitely get time to shine in the Defenders. It's just like I really would like to see him like really become like the Iron Fist from the comics. Like, he's a force to be reckoned with, man. Like he is really a lot more powerful than this season lets on.
Also, fuck that scene I keep seeing in the trailer of the mom fucking flying out of the fucking plane. I'm so over that scene. I've seen it every fucking episode. Every episode. I get it. She's gone. She's dead. I'm over it. To
wrap up my feelings, I don't want to come out of this discussion seeming like I hated this episode, because I didn't. I thought it had some positive points. Like, there were a few scenes where I was like, yeah, okay, I'm sensing this here. Like, there's potential here. There was moments sprinkled throughout this first episode, but overall, I just thought that the writing, the directing, even some of the acting was lower quality than what I'm used to for Netflix. And that's what set it apart. And that's what made it difficult to transition, is coming out of these amazing Netflix series, not even just the Marvel ones, but everything that is gracing Netflix nowadays, being so phenomenal. To come into this and see that it's dipped a little in quality, it throws you off.
Yeah,
I don't think it should. I want to point this out too on this episode. I do not think Rotten Tomatoes and Metacritic's fucking rating of the show is anywhere.
No, I don't either.
That shit is on the same level as the Fantastic
What is the
Four
average
people.
rating on Rotten Tomatoes? Forget the percentage.
The viewers?
No, the critics' average rating.
We can check it out.
They could all agree that the show is a 5.5 out of 10, and it'll get 0% because that's below 6 out of 10. Yeah. So sometimes it's better to go by the average rating than to go by the percentage. The percentage, you're right, is very low. It's like 15 to 20%. But I'm very curious what the average rating is.
Where do I find that?
It should be right there next to the percentage.
Average rating is a 4.8 8.21 out of 10.
Oof. Yeah, that's a little lower
I
than
don't
it
think
should be.
that's that low.
Yeah.
To
The
be
audience
honest
is at a
with you,
4.3 out of 5.
I haven't agreed with IGN's reviews in a long ass time, but honestly, every episode after I'm watching it, I always check IGN. I did this with Jessica Jones, I did it with Luke Cage, Daredevil, and as far as the Marvel Netflix shows go, I'm very much aligned with the guy that does the reviews for the Marvel Netflix shows.
Yeah.
And every episode so far, he's rated like a 6 to like a
Yeah.
like a very mid-range 6, like 6 to 6.5.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. That's how the
That's
show
what
is. But
my
that's every
whole
episode of
season
Arrow when I watch
would
that.
be.
So
That's what
Yeah, I would give the
agree
first
with the
episode
rating.
like a 5.56. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you guys. It's not a 4. I don't think it's quite
No.
that bad. Not that there's that much of a difference. I guess
And the
between
audience,
4 and 6, but
the audience does like it. I was following the hashtags I was watching, and the audience was like really kind of rebelling against
Mhm.
critics because they enjoyed it. There's a lot of people who don't like it, and that's totally fine. You don't have to, but the audience on here has given it a positive reviews. The audience I was reading through on Twitter seemed to enjoy it. I'm somewhere in the middle of them and the critics. The whole season for me, probably like a 6.5. I thought it ended a lot stronger than it began, and that gave it a couple of brownie points.
a lot of
I'm
those
intrigued.
ratings, though, that you were seeing, of course, are this constant battle between MCU and DCU. It's these
Yeah.
fanboys
Oh, man, the
that
whole
are going to
thing
hate
was-
everything Marvel or love everything Marvel. It's so frustrating to
It is
watch. It's worse than
frustrating.
console wars. It's the most
Yeah, it's so
annoying, frustrating thing I've ever seen.
It
on the
truly
internet.
is, and really a lot of the stuff I was reading was about as these critics had their panties in a twist for it, having the white savior trope, and like that's not what happens. There is no whole race of people like he's in to save the day. Like he is taught by them. If anything, the show does the most positive thing you could say. It represents gender and race in like the most equal way you could possibly do. It empowers all different races, all genders.
Yeah.
It's like
so far, what they're
really good
doing with
about that.
Colleen, especially her character's arc, is my favorite of the show so far. I love the way that they're taking that character, especially as like a young Asian American woman. It's fucking. She's one of my favorite parts of the show.
Well, they
I'm
say-
excited that you said that she gets better too as it goes on.
Oh,
'cause
she's
I really
great.
like her. a lot.
Their whole problem is because he's Iron Fist is the Iron Fist job is to protect Kunlun, which is where he's from. The Iron Fist guards the gates, no matter gender, race, whatever. That's the Iron Fist job. So the critics, not understanding the source material, took that as, oh, the white guy guards the whole like race of monks, blah blah blah. Like that's so fucking ignorant.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
sad. Like it's
Coming off of like the Great Wall, I think everybody was ready to
oh yeah,
just
I would agree.
throw their fists. No pun
Or
intended.
Iron Fist.
But anyway, level uppers, we're very curious as well. We hope that you watched at least the first episode. What did you think of Iron Fist? What did you think of the whole season? If you've watched it already, binged it over the weekend, are you going to continue with it if you didn't finish it yet? Let us know in the comments below. Like the video, of course, if you did like it. And most importantly, hit that sub button. Like 18% of the people that watch and like our videos do. Let's get that number up higher. I know we can do it.
Yeah.
Just
And another-
subscribe. It's not even that hard.
Yeah, it is weird that you won't
I
click
hate
it.
this. I hate this. I hate that we have to. I hate that we have to say that to people. Like, do you not love us? We're beautiful.
I agree.
Ah.
And of course, also a big thank you to our patrons who made this show possible. We are doing the Netflix Club thanks to your donations
guys are the
monthly
I
at
like this show. I would like to say that.
patreon.com/levelupnetwork.
I really
What'd you
enjoy doing this show with you guys. I really like this one. It's a good one.
The
This
Netflix Club
was
is
a
one
good
of
one.
Yeah,
My
I just was
favorite
thinking it
show.
after we did the last thing, and it really is up there. I really enjoyed doing this.
You know what's the best thing in the world, and I feel like this show is so good for it. It's the best feeling in the world is venting with somebody over after you watch the same thing, or the same thing with music.
even
if you
if
both
it's
listen to a
positive,
song
yeah,
and you
it's
just
just-
talk about it, it's just such a great discussion always.
Yeah.
Even if it's two opposite opinions, which is
Mhm.
Yeah.
me and Dean on Power Up every week.
Right.
And lastly, please don't forget to leave feedback on what you would like to see us do in the future with Netflix Club, because as we discussed, there's a huge array of shows and movies, Netflix original movies
Do we have a
that
plan
we could
for
watch.
next episode?
We do
yet?
not.
Oh,
We
yeah.
do not have a plan.
I didn't
So,
know if we did.
we are open to suggestions. The one I was looking at is The Discovery with Jason Segel and Rooney Mara. That's a
Ooh, I'm
possibility.
excited for that.
So we could do that, but yeah, we want to know what the viewers think because you guys you support us on
We should
Patreon. You made this
probably
possible.
come in here like knowing what we're gonna do next, so then at the end we can be like, next time, catch
That's
us
what I
with
was
blah blah blah.
That's why I didn't know
Maybe.
if Drew was brewing some special thing over there.
This
Yeah.
is only the second episode though, so we could
We'll
start
get
getting
there.
ahead of things where we
Yeah.
have things lined up for the future.
That's
But
true.
As always, thanks for watching this video. We will catch you next month with another episode of Netflix Club. Did we have a finale on this? I don't even remember what we did on the first episode.
Netflix Club!
It's pretty good with me.
Talking about all the shows and discussing them with you!
Oh, you know, I liked it last episode. We need to do it. Wait, no, it was the Breakfast Club.
Oh yeah, I forced you guys.
It was really good. I liked it.
What did we do? Just put our fists in the air?
We started singing, "Don't you
That's what it was.
Did we really? I
about
don't remember
me."
that at all.
You guys
No?
are both like, I'm not doing it. I'm gonna do it, and then I just did this. Don't you
Forget about me.
Don't
Don't you forget about me.